Tonight, I want to tell you the story of a South African woman called Hildegard Steenkamp, who managed to steal more than R500 million from her employer without getting caught for 13 years. We will explore how did she do it, why did she do it, and how she got caught. This is Hildegard Steenkamp. Hildegard Steenkamp started out as a junior accountant at an international company called Medtronic. She started in 2004, and after 6 months in the job, she started dipping her fingers into the money cookie jar. She continued with this for 13 years. What did she do with that money? According to the court proceedings, because she did get caught after some times, according to the court proceedings, she bought designer clothes. She went on expensive holidays. She bought expensive properties, expensive cars, jewelry, and any little pleasure that you could think about. And then also, Hildegard was an avid gambler. Hildegard gambled for fun. She gambled. There are even reports when they testified in court, the investigations. In one night, Hildegard gambled 5 million rand out at a casino. Now, she managed to steal 30 million US dollars over a period of 13 years. That is in today's exchange rate. When you convert 537 million rand, that's more than R500 million. When you convert it to dollars, in today's terms, it's 30 million US dollars. Hildegard, on average, stole 1.1 million US dollars every month. So how do you, as a junior accountant, explain to your friends and families and people who know you your amazing life that you have? Because she traveled extensively, she went on very expensive holidays, she bought designer clothes, she had, I think it was 11 luxury vehicles. She owned 7 houses, luxury houses that she owned. She had jewelry of about 12 million rand. So how do you explain, like, I'm just a junior accountant, how do you explain all that away to curious people? Hildegard would say that, well, actually, I'm just very good at gambling. I keep on winning. I'm just a lucky person. And that is how no one questioned her. Everyone thought that she was just very good at gambling, not knowing that she was actually gambling with her future, with her life, with her own well-being, while living a life of deceit. But how did she get caught? Because eventually, sadly, life is about balance. And at some stage, it's as an ordinary person, you will get caught. And Hildegard was alone. But before we get to how she got caught, let's see how did she do it. She was responsible for submitting VAT returns, which is a form of sales tax in South Africa, to pay that, to submit it, and then paid over the money to the revenue services. Then what she did, she then submit again and reclaimed a refund. And that refund, that money that she got back, instead of it going into the coffers of the business, she then diverted it to her late husband's account. So Hildegard had a husband, he passed away. Then she got married again, and the lifestyle just continues. Just as a note of interest, Her son and her husband, now her current husband, were also arrested because they were suspects, but they were released due to lack of evidence. So it seems as if Hildegard was doing this all by herself. How did she get caught? That is the million-dollar question. In every business, you have your accounting department, or it might, depending on the size of the business, it might be an accountant or a bookkeeper or two, or you might have a team of one person. But you get used to doing your job, and sometimes you see things and you're like, it's not important. But when you are a new person, there's a saying that new brooms always sweeps the cleanest. So Hildegard resigned in 2017. She was with the company for 13 years. Remember, from 2004 right up until 2017, she has been stealing money from the business without being detected. So she resigned and a new accountant was employed. An accountant with fresh eyes, a new look at things. And this accountant picked up some few discrepancies and she alerted the bosses. Now remember, Medtronic it's a multinational company. For the year 2022-2023, their net profits were $30 billion. So we're not talking about a little Mickey Mouse startup company. We are talking of a multinational company with offices in many cities in different continents across the world. So this leakage could have come from anywhere. So the company did the responsible thing. What they should have done while Hildegard was still there, they did it a little bit too late. They got a forensic team. Then this team had to dig. They had to go this is a multinational. So obviously they had to investigate cross borders to find out where the leakage is. One of the things they did, and of course there are many other little things that they've done, but one of the things they did and how they caught Hildegard, they took the list of employees and they compared it with the list of suppliers. Because remember, the supplier side is where most of the theft is happening. And lo and behold, as they were comparing this list, then it popped up. The banking details of Hildegard's late husband. The company then handed her over to the police. By then she has resigned already. They don't stipulate to say why she has resigned, but when she was arrested, she was no longer an employee of Medtronic. So when the police went to, when they attached the properties, Hildegard was living the life with that money. They attached 7 properties, 7 houses, luxury houses, 11 vehicles, which included Range Rovers, motorbikes, a Porsche. She was not having an ordinary life. She was living the dream. So she was arrested and she admitted her guilt. Hildegard pleaded guilty to 336 charges of fraud and I think corruption against her. So we are waiting to hear when she will be sentenced. The case against her has been concluded. And it's a very sad state of affair to have a woman who is so absolutely beautiful and vibrant and full of life. And to see her going from this smiling, happy woman to someone sitting alone in the dock, having to explain why the money was stolen. In a case like this, there are absolutely no winners. There's a huge price to pay for everyone involved. She has reached the end of the road, unfortunately, after 13 years of living a lie. And there's nothing to celebrate about this. It is sad indeed, and it's now her reality. So what is the cost to the company? Because she has been convicted, she pleaded guilty. So what happens to the business? Because remember, she was responsible for submitting the VAT returns, the sales tax, to the South African Revenue Services. She defrauded the business, she defrauded the revenue services. So now the company is saying to the taxman, but listen, it's not our fault that we owe you money. We had an employee that was dishonest. Look, there she was arrested. There she pleaded guilty. She's just waiting for sentencing. And what is the response of the revenue service? They are saying, we don't care. We don't want to hear about your bookkeeper. We don't want to hear about the accountant, your advisor. We do not want to hear anything except we want you to pay what you owe us. And what is the bill? How much do they owe the South African Revenue Service? At the moment, currently, as it stands, Medtronic owes SARS, the Revenue Service, $17 million. Hildegard stole $30 million from this company. Now SARS, the Revenue Service, wants $17 million for all those years that VAT was not paid to them, or actually refunds were claimed illegally, fraudulently by Hildegard. One individual, one employee. Now they're sitting with a bill of $17 million. They suffered a loss of $30 million because of one person. It doesn't end there. On top of that, the forensic team who did the investigation came at a cost of $1.2 million. That's on top of the $17 million, another $1.2 million that now the company must pay to the people to tell them this is what went wrong, this is how much was stolen, and this is how you can prevent it. The cost doesn't end there. In court cases, you are represented by lawyers, by advocates. And those advocates and lawyers, they need to be paid. And their bill is up until now, it's $272,000. In South African rands, it's 6.7 million rand. So do you get the picture? As a business, how by not having checks and balances in place, how one person can cause chaos, havoc, financial stress to you, the employer, the company, the boss. How someone can steal the money that is supposed to go to the business and live a dream life because you were caught napping. Could this have been prevented? Yes, it could have been minimized. But before we get to how this can be prevented, here's another shocking thing. The $30 million, none of that cash was recovered. Not a red cent. They took the houses, they took the cars and the motorbikes and the jewelry. They did not recover the cash. It's gone. Poof, it has vanished. Now the company is sitting with this mess. So how do you prevent this? I always advise all my clients. The first thing you do because that is what I do. As an accountant, as a business, the service that we offer is to ensure that your financial controls are in place, and not just your systems, but also from a human side, because you can have the best system, but human nature is still in place. I advise all my clients, number one, first and foremost, take an interest in your business. Do not rely on human nature. Oh, she is so nice. Oh, I trust her with my life. We've been working together for so long. You know, if my accountant isn't here, nothing happens if she isn't here. If someone asks you something, oh, I can't answer you, I have to speak to the accountant. That needs to stop. You need to take an interest in your business. If you are the CEO, the managing director, if you have an executive position, you need to take an interest. You must at least, if not once a month, every 2 months, you must have a meeting with your accounting team and discuss the numbers that you see on your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement. But that is from your side. What about the team that works for you? And here is another interesting statistic. 5 years ago, 30% of businesses went under because of bad bookkeepers, dishonest accountants. That figure now has risen to 80%. 80% of businesses fail because of dishonest, unscrupulous accountants and bookkeepers. And I can say to you again, I said it before and I will say it again. The South African Revenue Service, just like the IRS, does not give a damn about how dishonest your bookkeeper was. They don't want to hear about your accountant who didn't do a proper job. They hold you as the owner, the MD, the CEO. You are accountable for what goes on in your business. So how do you prevent that? Now you've taken an interest. You look at your reports once a month or once every 2 months because you are busy. Things can be hectic. But here is the thing, financial controls. In the case of Hildegard, she was the one who captured, processed, authorized. No one checked up on her. There was no segregation of duty. One person cannot manage everything in your accounting department. One person cannot make all the decisions, and you just sit and you wait for the money to come in and you keep on saying, I don't understand anything about accounting. You don't need to be an accountant, but you need to know the basics. One of the first basics, the first rule of accounting controls is segregation of duties. That's number one. Number two, most of the leakages, it happens at the supplier's end. And how does it happen? I work for your business. I work like maybe I'm an employee, I'm an accountant, whatever. But I have access. I can load, I can capture details. And I put the name of a company that doesn't exist, but you don't know. I put that name and I put my own banking details or the banking details of a family member, a friend, or another supplier, and we split the money. And that is what happens. On the supplier side, a fictitious, you've heard that word, a make-believe supplier gets created and money gets poured into that banking details. And it's not even a real person. It's not a real company. In the case of Hildegard, the only thing that existed for that business was a name and a bank account. There was nothing else. So, segregation of duty, supplier list. You must at least be able to do the routine checks where you take your employees lists and you take your supplier list and you compare the bank details, and any discrepancy, no matter what you might think is just small, but you see, that is what I do. My job, my focus, my speciality is to look at discrepancies and identify what doesn't add up. Outsourcing. Because it can happen that within an accounting department, and that's one of the stories that I will do very soon, where a team of the accounting department, a whole team, came together and they defrauded the business. How do you prevent that kind of thing? And even if your accountant is honest, they don't steal money. They're just honest. They're doing their job. But what if there's a little thing that they've missed? That is where outsourcing comes in. That is what I offer and how I operate. What are the benefits to outsource your books to an independent accounting firm? You have a fresh pair of eyes. Remember, Hildegard got caught out because a fresh pair of eyes were looking at the books. You have someone who's independent and unbiased, non-biased, because I don't have any emotional attachment to anyone in your business. The only thing I see are those numbers, and I can only report on those numbers without having to think, oh, what will this person think? What will they say? How will it affect them if this gets revealed, this information? So the benefits of outsourcing cannot be underestimated. You don't have to outsource your entire department. But like I said, in terms of your VAT payments, in terms of your supplier, even your customer list, just for a fresh pair of eyes to look. And sometimes you find you have looked, something is off, and I can bet you. Sometimes you look at your account and something is off, but you can't put your finger on it because you are waiting for someone to come and say to you this is off, but it never comes. That is again where outsourcing come in, where services like mine come in. Another point that I want to emphasize is that you have to understand and know the value of a good accounting service, a good accounting firm, to appreciate the value. People who are just starting out in their business are not the clients that I'm looking for, because you don't understand the importance of what it means to get the right person on board, and you can't afford me. In the case of Hildegard, this was a multinational company who fell into the trap of getting one person, so I would assume, because she was alone. There was no one checking up on her. This is a multinational company who fell in the trap of leaving the books in the hands of one person. There must be someone in your company who's operational on the side of accounting, and there must be an independent outsider who can look at the books. That is key. And that's a service that needs to be considered. And it can be life-changing for the business. The reality is theft and fraud can't always be prevented, but it can be minimized. It can be caught on very early. It can be discovered very early when you have your routine checks and you outsource. And it is sad and it's heartbreaking to lose your money, hard-earned money, to someone that you have put in a position of trust. You know, when we read these stories, sometimes you think it's funny that someone stole all that money. But if you think of what the consequences is to the business, it's reputational damage. It's financial loss to the company. It might be even the complete and total collapse of the company. And if you are in this position, can you imagine if this was a smaller business, it could have wiped them out. So for you to prevent to be in a similar position, my services, our services are available. And here's another shocking reminder. People like Hildegard, it's just the tip of the iceberg. For every person that get caught, there are countless others who are now, as the very moment as I'm speaking here, who are living and building their entire life on stolen funds from a business. That business might be yours. Think about it. But if you need help, if you need advice, your business might tell a different story. So I am Olivia, and I thank you so much for listening. Please keep on watching. I will be posting more of these videos because I just find it so fascinating. And I am an accountant, and it is my love and my passion to find solutions for businesses to prevent that your story become the story of Medtronic. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening.